In this episode, the National Weather Service has issued blizzard warnings ahead of what may be a historic storm, as models indicate a possible record-setting bombing cyclone for the Great Lakes. Then it's looking very likely that millions will be impacted by a historic Arctic outbreak, as wind chills could plummet down to negative 65 degrees. Good morning, everyone, on this fantastic Wednesday, as we are keeping an eye on this big storm. Now, before I do get started, if you're new to the YouTube channel and you really like these detailed weather videos, please consider subscribing if you're new, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your family and friends on social media. And also, be sure to check out our Weather Force Discord server. There's a link in the description below this video. So here's a look at the latest National Weather Service, and I will tell you what, I've never seen this amount of weather alerts on the map in literally a decade. I am not joking at all. There is so much going on as Winter Storm Elliott begins to develop across the northern plains later on today. So first of all, we got wind chill warnings that literally cover pretty much almost about a third of the nation. You can see it here all in the gray colors, with wind chills that could range between negative 20 degrees to the south, with wind chills as low as negative 60 degrees to the north. That includes Montana, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado perhaps. We are talking about deadly wind chills with this Arctic invasion that is going to be coming in. And then, of course, we got winter storm warnings that are now expanding further south. Includes Kansas City, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin. If you're in Minnesota, if you're in western Illinois, under a winter storm warning. And then you got a winter storm watch east of that in Indiana, in Ohio, in Michigan. High wind warnings up here. And I'll tell you what, the National Weather Service in Buffalo, New York yesterday even did say that this could be one of the worst storms in a decade. It is a storm of the decade, in other words, with Winter Storm Elliott, with possibly a couple of feet of snow or more with lake effect. That is going to be a huge problem there. So we'll be looking over that in just a little bit. But look at this. Down here to the south, wind chill watches, wind chill advisories, hard freeze warnings, hard freeze watches. I mean, right along the Gulf Coast, you are going to see brutally cold temperatures. I mean, you don't see this early in the season. This is literally a Christmas Day-ish Arctic invasion outbreak, a Elliott winter storm literally arriving just in time for Christmas, and it's going to wreak big-time havoc across much of the U.S. So a lot going on here. Never seen this before, literally. And if I do a live discussion on this, we're going to in-depth detail exactly what's going to happen. Now, when we time this out on the very latest European model, this is a 06Z run that came out literally about an hour ago, and we can see where Winter Storm Elliott is likely to be this afternoon, right around about 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We can see the snow here kind of draping across the northern Rockies into the northern plains, into portions of the upper Midwest like Wisconsin. Gonna see a little bit of snow out of this, but it's gonna be the wind that's gonna be ushering in that very cold Arctic air instead. That's going to be the biggest impact. And yes, we do got blizzard warnings out there for central and southern Minnesota because of how strong this weather system is going to be. But it's not until we get into, say, on Thursday, that's when the system really takes shape here. For the rest of the high plains, the Midwest, for Thursday morning, you can see there is the snow strengthening just a little bit, but it's really not until we get into Thursday afternoon. That's what the models have been consistently showing, is a very intense strengthening cold front. And we can see, look at all the blue on your screen. That indicates there is going to be some pretty hefty snowfall rates here across the region. That could be anywhere between 3 to 5 inches per hour perhaps, okay? So keep that in mind if you're doing any road travel. This could be a very big issue for your location. This includes for Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, as well as Western Tennessee, Arkansas for Thursday evening, Thursday night. And then it really continues to intensify here over Indiana, over Ohio, with that very intense surface low deepening, very likely over the region. We're going to see near tropical storm force winds, especially over Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, big time winds there, Lake Huron, you name it. It's going to be very bad. Lake Superior going to have some big time winds as this surface low actually deepens. All right, so that's a look at this, and this is going to continue to be a big problem for Friday into Saturday. Look at the lake effect snow machine. This thing is going to be insanity. Big time lake effect snow problems there for Buffalo, New York, for Watertown, New York. We are live streaming this event. Absolutely, either on Thursday, but for sure, definitely for sure, on Friday, we will be live most of the day, looking at cameras, tracking this winter storm live on the YouTube channel. For Michigan, we're talking some light to moderate lake effect snow in the wake of this winter storm as it moves off. And still, through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we are looking at some hefty lake effect snow accumulations here for Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, for portions of Lake Superior, Lake Huron. Certainly a big problem with this. Now, the GFS model solution, what is it showing? Is it more aggressive? The answer is absolutely. It is one of the most aggressive model runs that we've seen in a while, which again, there's some differentials in the model guidance. We have a little bit of uncertainty, but if the GFS does pan out, this would certainly be very close of being a storm of the decade. I'm not quite confident of that, but it's close. All right, so when we take a look at this for Thursday morning, there's your Arctic high, 1,067 millibars on the air pressure chart here. That is very high. That is possibly all-time record high surface high pressure for the state of Montana in literally 50 plus years, I think. That is a big deal. That's a lot of Arctic air up there that is going to be just ushering and racing southward here across the northern tier of the United States into the Midwest. This continues to be a big problem over much of the upper Midwest into the deep south. You can see there is the upper level low pressure system. On top of that, the surface low 1,000 millibars. But most importantly, look at where we have the snow. The GFS continues to not trend further south. The European has a lot more snowfall accumulations over the Missouri area. If you're in Arkansas, you have better chances on the European, but the GFS really not having it, but it does a little bit better job over central Tennessee. Big time flash freeze concerns out ahead of this front. So if there's any rain, like say in eastern Tennessee or eastern Kentucky, in Ohio, big time flash freezing is a big possibility. This is when we could see down power lines, down trees, impossible road travel, because all the roads could be extremely icy. Of all the rain that fell, flash freezes instantly, then we get the snow on top of it. All right, so Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, if you're in Illinois, Wisconsin, big time snowfall accumulations out of this. And most importantly, look at this, eastern Tennessee, Kentucky, we're looking at some very impressive snowfall rates and some big time winds and some big time cold temperatures. This again is very concerning for the deep south. Wait until you see the wind chill values out of this. For Ohio, for Michigan, we're talking a lot about moderate to heavy snowfall out of this, and this continues over Pennsylvania, West Virginia, even Maryland now could get in on the snow. There's been some model runs that have not shown much in the way of snow there, but since this cold front could be a lot stronger, especially for Pennsylvania right along the Gulf Coast, big time flash freeze concerns will be a very high possibility because of one, it's going to be overnight, so nothing's going to be able to dry out, and we're going to have a flash freeze over this area. So big time power outages for sure with this winter storm. Michigan still getting on the snow, and look at this, very heavy lake effect snow on the back side of this. The GFS model is probably the most aggressive run that I've seen. Now, could this happen? Probably not, but could it still happen? Absolutely. This is 66 hours out, and the GFS model has uptrended a little bit as far as the snowfall accumulations. Look at this, big time. The difference is the surface flow is a little weaker on this run, which might prevent this from being a storm of the decade, but the impacts will be felt forever, or for a while at least, after the system departs. And this continues. Look at this. Christmas Eve, it is snowing very hard over Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Erie, Pennsylvania, still dealing with lake effect snow. And I mean, still snowing pretty good there over Buffalo, New York, over Watertown, New York. That's why we're probably going to end up live streaming on this if the models continue to trend in this favor, especially for Friday, because on Friday, the impacts will be most significant with this low pressure system. All right, so lake effect snow could continue all the way through Christmas Day in some of these areas. And I mean, wait until you see the snowfall accumulations. And actually, we're going to the snowfall accumulations right now. Instead of doing state by state, as this would take forever, this would be one of the longest videos, we're just going to do regional with the plot in mind. So I hope I'm doing the best job that I can, because it is in the morning. I have to get ready for school, and I don't have all day. You understand? So here's a look at the snowfall totals through Christmas Day, even the day after Christmas. Look at these, 66 inches over Watertown, New York. We actually have a camera there that we will be using in my live stream, and it's going to show a lot of heavy snowfall rates on the camera, I'm sure, because of what we're seeing. A foot of snow in Syracuse, but look at this for Buffalo, New York, 53 inches potentially on the GFS model run. That is very concerning. All right, when we go to Michigan, possibly 26 inches. Now this is Kachira, and you guys are wondering, why is David using Kachira? Use a 10-in-1 ratio. That's because temperatures are going to be extremely cold after the surface flow moves through. The snowfall is going to accumulate faster when the temperatures are colder than if they were warmer like a wet snow. So we are going to use this conversion here of the Kachira because it is going to be the most accurate solution to with what we're dealing with here. So you can see for southwestern Michigan, up to about a foot at least. I guarantee a foot of snow is likely, maybe 2 feet. Up here to the north, due to the lake effect snow again, the influences there, possibly up to about 2 feet of snow. Up to the north here, like near Lake Superior, possibly up to maybe 60 inches of snowfall. That is well over 3 to 4 feet due to lake effect snow influences. Wisconsin, possibly about a foot of snow expected. Chicago, 9 inches. If you're in Iowa, you're ranging between 4 to 6 to 7 inches, maybe 10 inches on this weather map. And then, of course, if you are, say, in northern Minnesota, about 7 inches. Indiana there, 14 inches. So snowfall totals down here have trended down a little bit, maybe a foot or so for central Ohio. For Erie, Pennsylvania, 40 plus inches of snow is certainly a possibility. Now, when we take a look at the Midwest here, the upper Midwest, we should say, and the deep South, portions of Tennessee here could get as much as 12 inches of snow, not 12 inches, 6 to 8 inches of snow. Kentucky, 9 inches. If you're in Missouri, 7 to 8 inches of snowfall is certainly a possibility out of this winter storm. For the higher elevations of West Virginia, Kentucky, as well as Tennessee, you could see about a foot of snow out of Winter Storm Elliott. All right, now for the upper not for the upper Midwest, for the high plains, for Kansas, you could see as much as maybe still 5 inches, 2 to 5 inches, we should say, on the latest European model, actually. Or no, wait, this is the GFS, my bad. GFS model showing quite a bit of snowfall versus the European model. I want to make sure this is I'm doing this correctly. We can see here. Actually, we're going to use a European for this case up here because it probably highlights the snowfall a little bit better. So probably about 3 to 5 inches over Kansas. Some areas here 6 inches. If you're in the higher elevations here of Colorado, that's what you're dealing with. All right. Another thing that you're going to have to deal with will be the Arctic air. And this is the biggest story of a decade. I'm not kidding you all right now, okay? I'm not trying to hype this up. I know some of you have been leaving comments saying, "Oh, David's hyping this up. David's scaring people. What the heck? This is not a big deal. This is just one of the weaker storms in a while." No, this is not the weakest storm in a while. That's why they are issuing these weather products, folks, all across the United States here. Look at this. I mean, this is a very colorful map, and that illustrates with what you might be dealing with or what you will likely be dealing with. All right, so please keep that in mind. Have respect when we're dealing with a system like this. This is how fatalities happen, because it's people underestimate this. Oh, it's not very cold at all. You go outside, you're freezing your buns off because it's the wind chills are like -30, -40, -50, even -60, which what we'll be dealing with this Arctic air mass. All right, so please take that into consideration. This is a storm of the decade, potentially, because of how much cold air is going to be coming in out of the north. Not so much the snowfall, but it's going to be how much cold air it gets dragged out, okay? So air temperature forecast for Thursday morning, we got -24, right? That's pretty cold for the middle to the end of December, right? These are like February temperatures, right? But it's the wind that's going to be tapping into these air temperatures that are going to make it feel much colder. And wait until you see the wind chill forecast from the European model. It is literally absolutely concerning. All right, so temperatures here for Thursday, again, ranging between -10 to -25 degrees, -38 to -40 degrees, perhaps all across the Montana area. Wyoming, potentially -40 degrees to start your morning for Thursday. So make sure you have enough gas in your car. You have your space heaters to keep your engine, your radiators warm, because if they freeze, your car is going to be broken down, right? You're going to have to get that repaired. So make sure you take that into consideration. And also, again, livestock, it's going to die because of how cold these temperatures are. And make sure you have food, water, and a flashlight for your house, because the power grids in these areas will be stressed out due to heaters running. It's kind of the opposite of air conditioners running to causing blackouts. Same thing here. All the heaters could lead to blackouts because everyone's going to keep their house warm and cozy because of how cold it's going to be. All right, so Thursday, during the day, your temperatures don't warm up. Look at this. Some areas are going to even struggle to get out of the -20-degree range here. Look at this, -12 in Iowa. If you are in Minnesota, -12. If you're in, say, Montana, if you're in Wyoming, still -25 degrees. During the day, when the sun is out and shining in the wake of this front, all right? 20 degrees below zero in many areas, so very cold. It's not warming up at all. I mean, it will warm up some, but I mean just a few degrees during the day. And then look at this. Overnight temperatures are going to cool off even more for Friday, especially for the Montana area. -30, -40 once again. But most importantly, look at these temperatures. -2 degrees potentially over central and eastern Tennessee. That's historic for that state, I'm guessing. If you are in Indiana, if you're in Ohio, -8, -10 degrees. I mean, on the European model, the 06Z run really illustrating this. Look at this, -4, -5 degrees in Missouri. So we know the temperatures up here, yeah, you can deal with, say, -7 in Montana. Oh, not -7, -7 in Minnesota, like Fargo. That's not my problem. It is a big problem for this early in the season, but it's all down here how far south this Arctic air is going to extend on top of the strong winds. That's where this Arctic air becomes a problem, because you don't see this very often in the deep south, like the Gulf Coast states. You don't see this early in the season. This is mid to late December Arctic outbreak that's going to be on historic levels. So this is literally a big big problem. Okay, especially that it impacts like the Appalachians here of Tennessee and the Southeast. All right, now going into Friday, again, not warming up very much for Indiana, for Ohio, for Pennsylvania. Going to be very cold all day. Still cold up here, -30 to have the daytime highs in the Dakotas, as well as Minnesota. And Minnesota as well as Montana. And then it still is cold up here, -25, -30 degrees. It is not going to warm up very much at all for throughout Christmas Day, leading up to it. Very cold, dangerously cold wind chills. Speaking of those wind chills, here's a look at them for Thursday morning. Yes, we looked at the air temperature, but when you factor in 25 to 40 mile an hour winds on top of those temperatures, yeah, it's going to be outrageously cold. -56 degrees in Nebraska. Look at this, -63 on the 06Z European model of today. I mean, wow, this is just brutal, very brutal wind chills in this area. I mean, you're in the -50, -60 degree range, hence is why we have wind chill warnings. But look how far south this actually gets. So when we play this through for Friday morning, look at these wind chills. -3 degrees it might feel like in central Texas. I mean, geez Louise. If you're in Oklahoma, -10. -40 degrees potentially over Indiana, Ohio. If you are in, say, central Iowa, -40 it might feel like. Look at this. For eastern Tennessee, it might feel like -20 degrees. That's potentially deadly. Actually, that is deadly because of how far south this actually gets. So please stay warm. Do not be outside in this, folks, because it's going to be cold to begin with, but the wind chills on top of that going to be making it feel much colder. -24 there. Still in the -40 to -50 degree range, close to -60 degrees here in Montana for your Friday morning. And this Arctic air is going to be in place through Saturday all the way into Sunday, as this Arctic high really settles in. And when we go further out in time here on the 0Z European, because the intermediate only goes out to 90 hours out, still very cold here all the way through Sunday, all the way through, and then another patch of Arctic blast comes in with another weather system. And that could send wind chills again down to as low as -30, -35 degrees in northern portion there of Illinois. So again, this brutal cold air is going to hang around possibly through at least Tuesday. Even now, Wednesday, it looks like it might feel like -30 degrees up there in Minnesota. Hopefully the pattern will turn around by the middle to the end of next week. The last kind of half a week here leading up to New Year's Day, because this would be very devastating if this impacts your New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, because a lot of people will be outside celebrating the New Year's Eve, and so this could be a really big deal. Before I do in this video, everyone, I want to fully review on the National Weather Service map one last time. Again, absolutely a dreadful, possibly storm of the decade that could be in the making here. Winter Storm Elliott going to bring extreme impacts to the Great Lakes, to the northern tier and the central U.S. As far as temperatures go, not everyone's going to have extreme impacts. It's either going to be one or the other, the extreme cold or the big time snows over the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. It's going to be one of the two. All right, please be safe out there, folks. All right, I'm definitely going to have another video on this, maybe a live stream discussion. Actually, I will do a discussion probably this evening when I get home on this, because this is very significant actually over much of the U.S. I mean, I have not seen anything like this. Very colorful map. Anything from a blizzard warning to a wind chill watch to a hard freeze warning to a hard freeze watch for northern Florida. Believe it or not. All right, high wind watches up here for the northeastern U.S. But anyways, I hope you did enjoy the video. I hope this video did help you out a lot. If it did, please consider subscribing, sharing this with your family and friends on social media. You all have been doing pretty good at that. In the last 5 of my videos that I have actually uploaded, we've been able to get this out to over 50 to 60,000 people per day as far as the winter weather goes. So be sure you share this and also like the video and leave a comment in the section below. And I will see you guys back here this evening with another detailed update on this Winter Storm Elliott.